The forest floor was soaked with his blood. My mate, the man I'd just saved, the man I'd given everything to in one desperate night, stared at me with eyes full of murder. His hand wrapped around my throat. "Tell me who sent you," he growled, "or I'll kill you where you stand." They say every werewolf dreams of meeting their mate, that one person the moon goddess herself chose for you. I used to dream about it too. I used to believe that when I finally met him, all my pain would end. I used to think my mate would save me, but I was wrong. Let me take you back. Back to when I was just 17. Back to the Red Moon Pack, nestled in the countryside, surrounded by the gray tree forest. Back to when I still had parents. Back to when I still had hope. My father was an Omega, my mother too. We weren't powerful, we weren't wealthy. But we were happy. My father worked in the pack's logistics, managing supplies and shipments. My mother helped in the pack kitchen. Simple work, honest work. And me, I was their only child, their everything. I remember my mother braiding my hair every morning before school. Her hands were always gentle, always patient. "You're going to do great things, Diane," she'd whisper. "I can feel it. You're special." I'd laugh. "Mom, I'm just me." "Exactly," she'd say, kissing the top of my head. "Just you, and that's more than enough." My father would ruffle my hair on his way out the door, undoing all of Mom's work. She'd swat at him playfully, and they'd share a look. That look married couples get when they've been together so long they don't need words anymore. I was loved, completely, wholly, without condition. The other pack members treated me well too. I worked hard. I helped wherever I could. After school, I'd volunteer in the pack gardens or help the elderly wolves with their errands. I wanted to be useful. I wanted to belong. "That Diane," the pack members would say, "she's such a sweet girl, so helpful, so respectful." I'd smile and duck my head, embarrassed by the praise but warmed by it too. But everything changed the day I turned 16. In our world, your 16th birthday isn't just a celebration, it's a transformation. It's the day you're supposed to meet your wolf for the first time, the day you phase, the day you become whole. I remember that morning so clearly. I woke up tingling with excitement. Today was the day. Today I'd finally phase. Today I'd finally have my wolf. My parents threw me a small party. Nothing fancy, just cake and a few decorations in our tiny living room. But it was perfect. They sang to me. They hugged me. My mother had tears in her eyes. "Our little girl," she kept saying, "all grown up." That evening, the whole pack gathered in the clearing for the phasing ceremony. All the 16-year-olds stood in a circle, our families watching from the edges. The full moon hung heavy and bright above us. The alpha gave his blessing. The pack elders chanted the old words. And then, we waited. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. One by one, the other teenagers began to phase. I watched them drop to their hands and knees, watched their bodies contort and shift, watched fur sprout and bones reshape. I listened to their howls of joy and triumph as they took their wolf forms for the first time. I stood there, waiting for my turn, waiting for the pain, the transformation, the wolf I'd been promised since birth. Nothing happened. I closed my eyes, concentrated, reached deep inside myself for that connection, that presence I was supposed to feel. Nothing. The moon climbed higher. The other wolves finished their transformations and shifted back, laughing and crying and embracing their families. I stood alone in the center of the clearing, still human, still unchanged, still nothing. The alpha approached me slowly. His expression was carefully neutral, but I could see the pity in his eyes. "Diane," he said gently, "perhaps next month. Sometimes it takes time." But I knew. And from the whispers already starting around the clearing, everyone else knew too. I was wolfless. The walk home that night was the longest of my life. My parents flanked me on either side, their hands on my shoulders, but they didn't speak. What could they say? When we got home, my mother held me while I cried. My father paced the kitchen, his jaw tight with frustration and helplessness. "It's okay," my mother whispered into my hair. "It's going to be okay. We love you. Nothing changes that." But everything had changed. The next morning I found out just how much. I arrived at school to find my locker covered in crude drawings. A girl with a question mark where her wolf should be. "Wolfless freak," someone had scrawled across it in permanent marker. I scrubbed at it with my sleeve, my cheeks burning with shame. "Diane, the defect," someone whispered as I passed in the hallway. Giggles followed. In class, I took my usual seat next to Sarah, a girl I'd considered a friend. She immediately gathered her books and moved to another desk. "Sarah," I said quietly. She didn't even look at me. "I can't be seen with you," she muttered. "My parents said it might be contagious or something." Contagious, like I was diseased. At lunch, I sat alone. The table where I usually ate with my classmates was full, but when I approached, they all suddenly got up and left, leaving their half-eaten food behind. The message was clear. I wasn't welcome anymore. After school, I went to help in the pack gardens like I always did. Mrs. Chen, the elderly wolf who ran them, stopped me at the entrance. "I'm sorry, dear," she said, not meeting my eyes. "I can't have you working here anymore. The Alpha's orders. Wolfless members aren't allowed to participate in pack duties." "But I've been helping here for years," I said, my voice cracking. "Please, Mrs. Chen, I just want to help." "I'm sorry," she repeated and closed the gate in my face. I walked home in a daze. This couldn't be happening. These were people I'd known my whole life. People I'd helped. People who'd smiled at me and praised me and told me I was a good girl. One day, it took one day for all of that to disappear. That night at dinner, my father's hands shook as he served the food. My mother's eyes were red from crying. "Maybe it's a mistake," my father said desperately. "Maybe the pack doctor could examine you. Maybe there's a treatment or—" "There's no mistake," I whispered. "I'm wolfless." "That's all there is to it." My mother reached across the table and gripped my hand. "You're still our daughter. You're still perfect to us." But I didn't feel perfect. I felt broken, defective, less than. The weeks that followed were worse. The bullying intensified. Someone pushed me down the stairs at school. I broke my wrist. No one was punished. "She probably just tripped," the principal said. Clumsy human. That word, human. They used it like an insult. Like I was somehow lesser for not having a wolf. The pack members who used to greet me warmly now crossed the street to avoid me. The shopkeepers who used to slip me extra candy now watch me suspiciously, as if I might steal something. I stopped going to school after someone locked me in a supply closet for 6 hours. I stopped leaving the house at all unless I absolutely had to. My parents tried to shield me. They really did. But they were omegas. They had no power, no influence. All they could do was love me and hold me when I cried and tell me that someday, somehow, things would get better. But things didn't get better. They got worse. Because I wasn't actually wolfless. I had a wolf. I could feel her inside me, sleeping, waiting. But something was keeping her locked away. Something was preventing me from facing. I didn't tell anyone, not even my parents, because if they knew I had a wolf that I just couldn't access, it would give them hope, and I couldn't bear to see that hope die when nothing changed. So I kept my secret. I endured the bullying. I counted down the days until my 18th birthday, because werewolves meet their fated mates when they turn 18, and I clung to that hope like a lifeline. My mate would save me. My mate would love me no matter what. My mate would take me away from this nightmare. I just had to survive until then. Have you ever been rejected by everyone around you? Have you ever felt like you didn't belong anywhere? Not even in your own home, your own pack, your own skin? I want you to think about that. Really think about it. Because that's where my story begins. In rejection, in pain, in desperate hope that someone, somewhere, would see me as worthy of love. I was 17 years old. I had 6 months until my 18th birthday. 6 months until I'd meet my mate. 6 months until my life could finally begin. I thought those 6 months would be the hardest part. I thought if I could just endure a little longer, everything would be okay. I had no idea how wrong I was. It was late August. The heat pressed down on the red moon pack like a heavy blanket, making everything slow and lazy. The forest around us was thick with summer growth, the leaves so dense they blocked out most of the sunlight. I spent most of my days in my room. It was safer there. Easier. My parents would leave for work in the morning, and I'd be alone with my thoughts and my books and my secret wolf, who remained frustratingly silent inside me. Sometimes I'd stand at my window and watch the other pack members go about their lives. I'd watch the teenagers laughing together, the couples walking hand in hand, the children playing in the street. I'd watch and wonder what it felt like to belong to something, to someone. My 18th birthday was only 3 months away. September, October, November, and then freedom. Then my mate. Then everything would change. I held on to that thought like it was the only thing keeping me alive. Because some days it was. My mother would come home from work with bruises sometimes. She'd try to hide them, but I'd see. The other pack members weren't kind to her anymore either. Guilt by association. She'd given birth to a defect, and that made her suspect too. My father had stopped talking at dinner. He'd just eat in silence, his eyes distant, his jaw clenched. I knew he blamed himself somehow, though there was nothing he could have done. "I'm sorry," I told them one night. "I'm so sorry for ruining everything." My mother had grabbed my face in both hands, her eyes fierce. "Don't you ever apologize for existing, Diane Gunther. Don't you ever. You are not a mistake. You are not a ruin. You are my daughter, and I would go through all of this 1,000 times over for you. Do you understand me?" I'd nodded, tears streaming down my face, and she'd pulled me into her arms. That was 4 days before the attack. It happened on a Thursday night. I remember because Thursdays were when my father would bring home a special dessert from the pack bakery. His way of trying to cheer us up, I think. We just finished dinner. My father had brought home apple pie, my favorite. We were sitting around the table eating in comfortable silence when the howls started. Not normal howls, not pack howls. These were different, aggressive, threatening. My father dropped his fork. My mother went pale. "Get to the safe room," my father said, already standing. "Now." The safe room was a reinforced bunker beneath our house, built for exactly this kind of emergency. Every pack house had one, but we didn't make it. The front door exploded inward before we'd even left the kitchen. 3 wolves, massive, scarred, their eyes wild with bloodlust, burst into our home. Rogues. My father shifted immediately, placing himself between us and the intruders. He was small for a wolf, an omega, but he fought with everything he had. It wasn't enough. One of the rogues caught him by the throat and slammed him into the wall. I heard bones crack. My father's wolf whimpered and went still. "No!" my mother screamed. And then they were on her too. I stood frozen in the kitchen doorway. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My mother's eyes found mine across the chaos. She mouthed one word, "Run!" And then her scream was cut short. I ran. I crashed out the back door and into the forest. My heart hammering so hard I thought it would burst from my chest. Behind me, I could hear more screams, more howls, the sounds of fighting, of dying, of a pack being slaughtered. I ran until my legs gave out. I collapsed behind a fallen tree, gasping for air, my whole body shaking. The sounds of the attack continued for hours, or maybe it was minutes. I don't know. Time stopped meaning anything. When the screams finally stopped, the silence was worse. I stayed hidden behind that tree all night. I didn't dare move, didn't dare make a sound. I pressed my hands over my mouth to muffle my breathing and prayed to the moon goddess that they wouldn't find me. As the sun began to rise, I heard footsteps approaching, heavy, slow, deliberate. A rogue wolf appeared through the trees, sniffing the air. Blood matted his fur. He was heading straight toward my hiding spot. This was it. This was how I died. Alone in the forest, wolfless and helpless, just like everyone said I was. The rogue paused, his nose twitching. He'd caught my scent. And then, from somewhere deeper in the forest, a howl rang out, a summons. The rogue's ears perked up, and without another glance in my direction, he turned and loped away. I waited another hour before I dared to move. When I finally crept back toward the pack grounds, the sun was fully up. The red moon pack was gone. Bodies littered the streets, wolves and humans both, torn apart, left where they fell. The houses were burned or destroyed. Blood stained everything. I walked through it all in a daze. I recognized faces. Mrs. Chen from the gardens. The principal who'd called me clumsy. Sarah who'd called me a freak. All dead. All gone. I found my parents in our kitchen, still in their wolf forms, their bodies cooling. My father had died protecting my mother. My mother had died protecting me. I knelt beside them. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. I wanted to scream, but my throat was closed. I wanted to phase, to shift, to let my wolf out to mourn with me. But she stayed silent, locked away, useless. I don't know how long I stayed there. Hours, maybe. Eventually, I heard voices, other survivors searching through the wreckage. There were only 12 of us left out of a pack of 200. 12 survivors, and none of them wanted to stay. "We have to go," someone said. "They might come back." "Go where?" another voice asked. "Anywhere. Anywhere but here." I followed them numbly as we left the red moon pack behind. We walked for days, staying in wolf form to travel faster. Except me. I stayed human, stumbling along behind them, struggling to keep up. By the third day, the other survivors had had enough. "She's slowing us down," one of them said, not bothering to lower his voice. "Leave her," another agreed. "She's wolfless anyway. She won't survive out here." And just like that, they left me. They shifted and ran, disappearing into the forest without looking back. I was alone. Truly, completely alone. For weeks I wandered. I stole food from human towns when I could. I slept in abandoned buildings or under bridges. I avoided other werewolves and supernatural beings, afraid they'd kill me or worse. I was rogue now, packless, homeless, wolfless. I had nothing left except the hope, that stubborn, stupid hope, that in 2 months I'd turn 18. I'd meet my mate, and somehow, impossibly, everything would be okay. Think about losing everything in one night. Your family, your home, your entire world, just gone. How would you survive that? How would you find the strength to keep going when everyone and everything you've ever loved has been ripped away? Because I had to find that strength. I had no other choice. The city of Briarwood is where all the lost souls end up. Werewolves who've been exiled from their packs. Vampires who've been cast out by their covens. Witches who've lost their circles. Shifters of every kind, all packed into one sprawling, dangerous city where the only rule is survival. I arrived in Briarwood 6 weeks before my 18th birthday. I found a job washing dishes at a dive bar that catered to supernaturals. The owner, a grizzled bear shifter named Marcus, didn't ask questions. He paid me under the table and let me sleep in the storage room. "Keep your head down," he advised me on my first night. "Don't make eye contact with the customers. Don't get involved in their business. Do your job and disappear. That's how you survive here." I followed his advice. I worked my shifts, earned my money, and avoided everyone. At night, I'd lie on my cot in the storage room and count down the days until my birthday. 20 days, 15 days, 10 days. I didn't know what would happen when I turned 18. I didn't know if I'd even feel the mate bond without being able to phase. But I had to believe. I had to hope. It was all I had left. The night before my 18th birthday, I couldn't sleep. I lay on my cot staring at the ceiling, my heart racing with anticipation and fear. Tomorrow I'd meet my mate. Tomorrow. My life would finally begin. I must have fallen asleep eventually because I woke to Marcus shaking my shoulder. "Happy birthday, kid," he said gruffly, pressing a small cupcake into my hands. "Don't work too hard today." I stared at the cupcake, my eyes burning. It was such a small gesture, such a simple kindness. But it was the first birthday gift I'd received since my parents died. "Thank you," I whispered. He waved me off, embarrassed, and left me alone. I worked my shift in a daze, my mind spinning with possibilities. Would I meet my mate today? Would I feel the bond? Would he come find me somehow, drawn by the same pull I'd feel? When my shift ended, I stepped out into the alley behind the bar. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and for the first time in over a year, I felt her, my wolf. She was awake, alert, pressing against my consciousness like she'd been waiting for this moment as desperately as I had. "Hello," I whispered to her. "I've missed you." She didn't speak. Wolves don't speak in words. But I felt her joy, her relief, her impatience. She wanted to run. She wanted to be free. I left Briarwood that night and headed for the forest on the outskirts of the city. It took me 2 hours of walking, but I didn't care. I needed space. I needed privacy. When I finally reached a clearing deep in the forest, I took a breath and let go. The transformation was agonizing. My bones broke and reformed. My skin stretched and sprouted fur. My senses exploded with new information. Scents and sounds and sensations I'd never experienced before. And then it was over. And I was standing on 4 legs instead of 2. My wolf was white. Pure, snow white, without a single mark or blemish. I'd never seen a wolf like me before. We ran. We ran for hours, just for the joy of it. Just because we could. We chased rabbits we had no intention of catching. We splashed through streams. We howled at the moon that had finally set us free. I felt whole for the first time in my life. Complete. Like all the broken pieces of me had finally clicked into place. And then I smelled blood. My wolf froze mid-stride, her ears swiveling toward the scent. It was strong, fresh, coming from somewhere nearby. Every instinct told me to run the other way, to mind my own business, just like Marcus had taught me. But something pulled me toward that scent, something I couldn't name, couldn't resist. I followed it through the trees until I came to another clearing. And there, lying in a pool of his own blood, was a man. He was unconscious, barely breathing. His shirt was torn and soaked with blood from multiple wounds across his chest and stomach. His face was pale, his lips blue. He was dying. I should have left him. I should have run. He was clearly dangerous. You don't get wounds like that from being a good person. But I couldn't leave him. Something in my chest pulled tight, urging me closer. I shifted back to human form, wincing at the pain, and knelt beside him. Up close, I could see how handsome he was. Strong jaw, dark hair, broad shoulders. Even unconscious and dying, he was beautiful. And then his scent hit me. Pine and rain, and something wild and electric that made my wolf howl inside my head. Mate. This dying man was my mate. "No," I breathed. "No, no, no. Not like this." But the bond was already forming, already pulling me to him with an intensity that stole my breath. I didn't have time to think, to question, to panic. He was dying. My mate was dying, and I was the only one who could save him. I tore strips from his shirt and pressed them against his wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. I dragged him toward a stream I'd passed earlier, struggling under his weight. I cleaned his wounds as best I could with the cold water in my trembling hands. His eyes fluttered open once, unfocused and glassy. "Hold on," I told him. "Please, just hold on." He tried to say something, but the words came out as a mumble, and then his eyes closed again. I worked through the night, doing everything I could think of to keep him alive. By the time the sun rose, his bleeding had slowed, and his breathing had evened out. He was still unconscious, but he was alive. I sat back, exhausted, and stared at him. My mate, the person the moon goddess had chosen for me, the person I'd been waiting for, hoping for, dreaming about for years, and he didn't even know I existed. I should have left then. I should have walked away and let him wake up on his own, but I couldn't. The bond was too strong, too insistent, so I stayed. I gathered wood and built a small fire. I found berries and roots to eat. I kept watch while he slept, alert for any danger. As the day wore on, his color improved. His wounds began to heal, faster than any humans would, but that was normal for supernaturals. By evening, he was stirring. His eyes opened, clearer now, and focused on me. They were golden, bright, molten gold. Alpha eyes. My breath caught. My mate wasn't just any werewolf. He was an alpha. "Who are you?" he rasped, his voice rough from disuse. I found you," I said. "You were dying. I helped you." He tried to sit up, winced, and fell back. "Where am I?" The forest outside Briarwood. His eyes sharpened. Briarwood? How did I? He trailed off, his hand going to his wounds. What happened to me? I don't know, I admitted. You were already hurt when I found you. He stared at me for a long moment, his golden eyes searching my face. I wondered if he felt it too. The bond, the pull, the certainty that we were meant for each other. Thank you, he said finally, for saving me. You're welcome. We sat in silence as the sun set. I fed the fire. He watched me, his expression unreadable. When night fell, the bond between us intensified. I could feel his emotions, confusion, pain, wariness, and underneath it all, desire. He felt it too. He had to. What's your name? He asked softly. Diane. Diane, he repeated, like he was testing how it sounded. I'm Jaden. Jaden. My mate's name was Jaden. He stood slowly, testing his strength, and walked toward me. Every step closer made my heart pound harder. You smell like, he paused, inhaling deeply. Like home. You're my mate, I whispered. His eyes widened. What? I turned 18 today. I can feel it. You're my mate. He stared at me, and I watched a dozen emotions flicker across his face. Surprise, disbelief, hope, fear. Are you sure? He asked hoarsely. In answer, I closed the distance between us and pressed my hand against his chest. The bond flared to life, a golden thread connecting us, binding us together. He sucked in a sharp breath. His hand came up to cover mine. I feel it, he breathed. Moon goddess, I feel it. And then he was kissing me. His hands were in my hair, his body pressed against mine, and I was drowning in him. His scent, his taste, his touch. We shouldn't have. We didn't know each other. We just met. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen, but the bond demanded it. Our wolves demanded it. And after everything I'd been through, all the pain and loss and loneliness, I wanted this. I wanted him. So I let go. I let him pull me down onto the forest floor. I let him claim me under the full moon, surrounded by the trees with nothing but the stars as witnesses. It was desperate and passionate and perfect. It was everything I dreamed of and nothing like I'd imagined. It was my first time, and it hurt, but it also felt right in a way I couldn't explain. When it was over, we lay tangled together, his arms around me, my head on his chest. I listened to his heartbeat and felt, for the first time since my parents died, safe. I'll protect you, he murmured into my hair. Whatever comes, I'll keep you safe. I believed him. I wanted to believe him so badly. I fell asleep in his arms, exhausted and content, my wolf purring inside my head. When I woke, the sun was up, and Jaden was staring at me with eyes full of suspicion and rage. Who sent you? He demanded, his hand wrapped around my throat before I could even process what was happening. Tell me the truth, or I swear I'll kill you right here. The shift from love to terror happened so fast I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My mate, the person who was supposed to love me, protect me, cherish me, had his hand around my throat and murder in his eyes. What would you do if the person you trusted most in the world suddenly turned on you? If your dream became your nightmare in the space of a single breath? I'm asking because I need you to understand. This is where everything changed. This is where my story stopped being about hope and started being about survival.